we got to make money. And my dad was like, well, let's start a magazine. It's like, let's start a magazine.
That was his solution. Like, oh,
No.
just
Well, he'd
start a
already
magazine.
had a magazine.
Okay.
He had a magazine that was for antique dealers, right? That was
Okay.
like going around a real local regional. It was a one-man show. He did all the ad sales. He did all the
Damn.
layout and design. He ran it out of the back of his car, basically. So
Holy
it
shit.
was like kind of a one-man deal, and he sold that magazine, and then we got a little extra money to go race. It was like, well, yeah, let's just blow it all on racing. So gotta love that. I mean, I
It's
don't
like
know.
every racer I've ever known.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Yeah,
How
a
do
little bit
you
of money.
Yeah, just
how do
work
you
to
earn a
support the habit.
fortune in racing? Is you got to start out with a really large fortune, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, we didn't have any of that.
At all. Wow. So your dad was he started how many magazines?
Well, he was with a publishing company, but he was in Akron, Ohio, and he was on the launch of like 2 or 3 magazines from the very beginning, that when they started. Then he launched his own magazine, and then we launched from there. We took some money and launched a business magazine.
All right, so today on the podcast we have Brendan Baker, who is the editor-in-chief of Powersports Business Magazine.
Mr. And we're back himself.
Yeah.
Inside joke. You'll
It'll become outside in just a second. You'll be able to see what we're talking about. So, Brendan, I love that we got to spend some time talking to him about him, because
I love every time we get to talk to him.
he's so much fun to talk to.
Yeah.
Because usually the people, like you're listening to him host the Power Hour podcast, which is an awesome industry podcast, or you're seeing him show up in Powersports Business writing articles, or obviously editing those as well. You don't see him in those, but you never get to hear where he came from and his background. And I was kind of blown away by he's been doing this forever, being an editor, being a writer. And he is a true enthusiast. He is a motorhead.
Yeah,
He's a racer.
motorsports in general enthusiast.
Yeah, really fun episode to be a part of. And I think one of my favorite parts is toward the end, as we're talking, we start discussing his view of what's happening in the industry and what's changing and what it's going to look like.
Because
And
he's the guy that would know. I mean,
he does.
Like it Powersports Business, I mean, just is the benchmark. And it always I mean, to me, it always has been. Like, even my
Powersports Business
dad, way back in the day with his dealership, like I grew up with Powersports Business, like the latest issue sitting on the coffee table. Like, I mean, honestly, like even whenever I was in college, like not working in the industry, I always, that was like my daily thing. Check Powersports Business, see what's going on.
Yeah. If you listen to us, or you listen to other industry podcasts, or you listen to even just operators in the industry, it can sometimes become this kind of echo chamber. And we're guilty of it for sure, because we have our same ideas and we're working on them constantly, and it's the most important thing to us. I love that in this interview we talk so much about so many different moving pieces, because Brendan he has to know all the moving pieces.
He just gets to like watch it all happen.
Yeah.
You know,
and be a part of
and document it.
Yeah, documenting every single piece of it. It was a really cool episode to be a part of. It was really great. It's always fun talking to him, and we look forward to having him on the show again, because he has so much knowledge of what's actually happening across the industry right now. So we hope you love this episode. Please like and share. Send this one around for sure. If you have any suggestions on guests, or you want to sponsor the podcast, reach out to dealerlab@onex.io. But enjoy this episode as much as we did.
And we're back.
And
Remember that? It's a callback.
I
It's a
still
callback for the
have
other
that.
podcast.
The hard part about losing the actual podcast part of it, because we had the little recorder, all the special effects were gone. So I have nothing. This is like typical of our setup. Sometimes it's like nothing was tried and true. They shipped everything to me the day before with like no real instructions. And I'm just like, I got to figure this out.
You're talking about recording a podcast at AIM at the Powersports business booth. So you're telling me that all of the incredible sound effects that you added live lost all of them?
Yes. Somehow
we
they
sat down.
You know what? I didn't know how to hit record on the, so I thought I was recording everything, and apparently it just wrote over it all. I don't know. Like,
so, do your sound effects work?
So we did. Let's see. Did you hear?
I love that.
Yeah. Remember, we had the joke thing.
Yeah.
And we're back.
The laugh track.
And we're back.
And we're back.
So yeah, we saw you at AIM and sat down for a podcast, and it was like, I swear it was 2 hours.
It was awesome.
It felt like 2 hours, but it was only like an hour and a half. So
okay.
What's a half hour between friends, right?
That sounds bad if you say it felt like 2 hours. I mean, it felt like it flew by, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were some very good times. I'm hoping, are you going to be able to save any of that and post it on the Power Hour?
I can save it, and I'm going to remanufacture the sound effects in there. Okay. So what it was is it got it on the GoPro. The GoPro was there. So I didn't, most of the company just does the audio podcast. So they just like, oh, well, we'll send you a GoPro too. I'm like, well, I do both. It's like I do the audio and the video. That's part of how trying to sync that up was kind of, it didn't really work out that well. I got to have next time I'll have a better plan.
That's going to be a lot of editing. How about instead we just do another podcast? We could just record another one. Yeah.
But easy. I did save and I can bring it up. Well, I'll share it with you later, but it saved, I think, okay. It just, and I can hear you clear enough. We could clean it up. That's what those people back at the office, they get paid for. It's about security.
Yeah. So let's talk about The Office, because, the podcast we did was all about kind of what we did with the turnaround and all that information. That's not why you're here today. We're here today to know more about you and Powersports business. So I think first off, we do a little bit of research before any of these shows and look up some information and see what's going on.
A lot of research.
A lot.
Oh, God.
Too much
Don't
research.
Don't look into any kind of driving record. That's for sure.
Well, one of the things that kicked it off, you've been in the publishing company, kind of B2B publishing for almost 3 decades now. Is that correct?
Over 3 decades, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This was an accidental career.
Really? How so? How was that?
I mean, and I may have told you this before, but I mean, me and my dad, my brother, we were all into racing. We had a racing team. So
what kind of racing?
We were doing road racing, raced Firestone Firehawk series and IMSA sports car racing.
Yep.
I came from open wheel racing and go-karts and quarter midgets. Started racing when I was like 6 years old. My brother was 5 and a half. But anyway, we started racing real young because my dad had a parts store that he was also into racing. He had a race car and started racing before I was born. And he had a parts store, started before I was born. And then he was also into publishing, B2B publishing, did a magazine. So he was he actually wanted to be a writer first, moved to California after high school to be a writer. Anyway, it's a long story, but
we're here.
We could, we might break the 2-hour mark.
Let's do it.
But anyway, we get into racing. My dad he traded a couple of dune buggies for a quarter midget in 1974. That's how, So I was like 6 years old. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I grew up watching my dad race, at the Nelson Ledges race course, Mid-Ohio, places like that. And, he was like semi-pro kind of racer. And he actually raced Can-Am at one point, but with guys like Al Unser Jr. and Danny Sullivan and some of these bigger names. So, I was always very like, yeah, I want to get into quarter midget racing, then go through to go-karts and eventually go to racing school up in Canada, end up at Skip Barber in Connecticut.
Nice.
And through all that, we ended up starting our own racing team to go Firehawk racing, eventually to try to launch our career. But we ran out of money quickly. We had to rent out our car to make money. And then this doctor, a dentist out in California, smashed it up pretty good. And we tried to get it. Anyway, he ends up stiffing us for money.
Oh,
So
no.
we're like, oh, we got to make money. And my dad was like, well, let's start a magazine. He's like, let's start a magazine.
That was his solution? Like, no,
well, he'd already had a magazine. He'd already been doing like his own. He had a magazine that was for antique dealers, right? That was like going around a real local regional. It was a one-man show. He did all the ad sales. He did all the layout and design. He ran it out of the back of his car, basically. So it was like kind of a one-man deal, and he sold that magazine, and then we got a little extra money to go race. It was like, well, yeah, let's just blow it all on racing. So gotta love that, I mean, I don't know.
Every racer I've ever known.
Yeah, pretty much, right? How do you
just work to support the habit
in racing? Is you got to start out with a really large fortune, but unfortunately, we didn't have any of that.
Wow. So your dad was he started how many magazines?
Well, when he was with a publishing company, which I'm not going to name. But he was in Akron, Ohio, and he was on the launch of like 2 or 3 magazines from the very beginning, that when they started. Then he launched his own magazine. Well, it was actually my aunt's magazine, but he bought it. And then we launched from there. We took some money and launched a business magazine. And this was before, I was just starting college basically at the same time.
Yeah. Wait,
so I was already an editor before I'd even gone to J school,
Really?
Yeah. And I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, some people say I still don't, but and that's pretty much true. But
wow. So the magazine that you guys started, once it was like, we can't afford the car anymore after this crash, that was the business magazine?
Yeah, it was a business magazine. It was an attempt at trying to make a bunch of money so we could go back racing.
Yeah. And what, like general business, like all businesses?
It was a business for Akron, Ohio. So it was called Akron Business Magazine. Real exciting name. Real creative, We really put a lot of thought into it. And yeah, it was like, I don't know, let's start a business magazine. And the whole idea was we were just going to sell advertorial. We weren't even going to write. Like, I wasn't even supposed to write anything or really be an editor. I was just the guy working the computer, like, yeah, I can lay out. I'd done sponsorship proposals and things like that for racing. And, I was kind of a kind of writer. I kind of thought I was a writer. My dad was a writer and an editor. So I'm like, yeah, between the three of us, we should be able to eke out something,
Wow.
And we made money right from the very first issue. I mean, the first issue paid for itself and then some. I don't know how, because my dad was like super salesman, I guess, because none of us me and my brother had no clue what we were doing. I'm just like, I don't know. What? You want me to make this ad? I can put this, let me shrink this ad up to fit the space here or whatever. I was like making ads and working with the advertorial, but I had no writing or editorial experience. So it was.
How old were you doing that when you guys started this?
I was like in my 20s, late 20s. I'd already had like 10 years of racing under my belt,
Wow.
That time. And I was already like really in, we were sort of hitting the wall in terms of like, where do we go now? We're not getting, I could work for a racing team, but I wasn't getting any real opportunities to drive which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to. So in racing, you're either like the racer or you're on the behind the scenes, working as a mechanic or in management or, one of those kind of things. So, and there's a lot to be said about that,
That just wasn't your path. You didn't want to. It just
wasn't. I was getting calls, I got calls from people. I don't even know, like, because I'd kind of come up through working on race cars in racing school to be able to pay for racing school and then to be able to pay for racing.
Yeah.
So I was a crew chief, I was a car builder, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, growing up racing, I did built my own quarter midget when I was 12,
Holy
Uh, so I'm very mechanically, like, I'm more of a mechanic. I would say I'm more of a mechanic and a brain than anything else, but I am an editor. I just happen to wrench on words instead of car parts.
Oh, that was poetic. That was really good. You're a poet at the same time.
And I didn't know it. But I'm up, and we're back.
Yeah, I do have the button. I should use the button. Wow. Yeah. Man, that's great. I had no idea that you've been doing this like forever.
Forever.
Gosh. So you were doing a lot of automotive magazines. I mean, in the research I saw, it sounded like a lot of automotive magazines before joining the Powersports side.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Oh yeah. That was my entrance into it, besides from the business magazine, like from there we kind of hit a wall, and I just sort of at that point I took a job working for an automotive B2B publisher, the same one my dad used to work for in the 60s or before I was born. He went back and worked again on a magazine in the 80s called Import Car Magazine. And, so we kind of had a relationship there, but I didn't know those guys. But anyway, my aunt said, hey, they're hiring and you should try it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, my dad was not real happy he didn't really like the company to begin with. So he was like, oh, you're going there? I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of need money, because at that point we were hitting the wall it was like 2001, right after 9/11. Yeah. Everything we had worked toward just stopped.
Really?
Basically. Yeah, we just, in the local market, Akron, people were still in shock. It just took a while. And then we were on the teetering brink anyway, it was month to month, paying the print bill, paying all the salary, not that we made much, but I worked at a gas station part-time just to maintain everything,
Yeah.
And then which I actually loved working at, it was kind of cool going back as like work in an old-fashioned gas station, which was...
Were you like pumping people's gas for them?
Yes, I loved
it.
Pumped gas. I was like their $2 mechanic or whatever. I did windshields, fixed tires, did little fixed light, turn signals and things like that, whatever they needed.
I'm sure they loved you coming from a race background, just boom, boom,
boom.
Right?
They were like, they didn't even know what to do with me, but I was like, yeah, I had an earring at the time, so when my boss Jim hired me, he goes, "Can you lose the earring?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess, I was like, I thought that was the cool. I'm like, man, I'm so cool with this earring. This was like in the 90s,
I'm sold out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sold out to go work at a gas station.
Soul.
But it does sound like, hey, if this doesn't work out, you could always just go back to the gas station and be happy.
Yeah. You know what? Those were some happy times there. Those were great people. And just like even the clientele were all characters that would come in because it was a full service gas station in an era where it was started in the 1940s where people up and down the street were all super rich, right? They'd all bring their cars in to get worked on by the same gas station, that full service gas station that had been there since 1940.
Wow.
And so people just kept coming back. But then you get a lot of people that just didn't want to get out of their cars or clean their windshield or put air in their tires or anything. They'd come in like, give me $2 worth, You're like, okay. And then check my tires, clean my windshield. It was like the whole thing. But you just had characters. You knew all the characters that came in town, from
That's awesome.
The poorest to the richest,
There's one of those in my neighborhood.
A full service gas station?
Yeah. Like, and
still a thing?
It apparently. But yeah, it's the same exact thing. It's like wealthier, housewives that are driving Mercedes. They don't want to get out and pump their gas, so they'll pay an extra $1 per gallon to just pull up and ding ding. And
dude, I did not know that was still a thing. That doesn't happen in New Orleans.
Oh, it's the best. If I get a nail in my truck tire, just go. It's like $5.
Well, I fixed tires like that too. I did so many like plugs, tire plugs, any leaks, new tires. I was a whiz on that old time tire machine.
I
thing was
believe it. Yeah.
versus hell too. You'd like stick that big pry bar in there and like, yeah. Oh yeah, no, like I always say, I've worked almost every job from parts counter to technician to, all the way up the chain in automotive aftermarket. Not so much in power sports because I was more of an enthusiast. So
Yeah.
power sports side came in after I went and started working on a magazine called Engine Builder, which I wrote about engines every month.
About building engines.
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating. I would definitely
It
subscribe to
was
that. Is that
cool.
still around?
Oh yeah, it's still around. It was originally for automotive machine shops,
Yeah.
which are a dying breed.
Yeah.
They've reduced. I think at the time when I was there, there were, several, 7, 8 thousand of them, but they're
Wow.
down to
Yeah.
like only a couple thousand.
Wow.
And
Yeah, I
and
took an engine blueprinting class when I was doing Ducati Master Tech
oh,
School, and it's fascinating. I mean, the guy that taught me, Bruce Myers, was a power sports racer. I mean, Ducati. He ran a race team for Ducati, and he taught me so much about. He kind of took the like stigma, like the fear out of building motors, because he talked a lot about the building motors to the rule books. So of course I'm learning from Ducati, right? Like Ducati's teaching us how to build motors, but the guy they hired is like a race engine builder.
yeah,
And so of course the things he's going to tell me is like, well, okay, so in like a rule book, they're going to tell you things like you can't remove metal from the engine. But what they don't say is you can't move the metal within the engine. So he'd be like, so what you can do is you take the crankshaft, you slim it down, you knife edge this side of the crank, you do all this stuff, and then you just take all those metal shavings and you epoxy it into the sump.
yeah.
Like, all right.
You put them all there. They're still a lot of it.
Technically, it's still-
Blueprinting is like it's based on the exact technical. So all those specs, all the like your limits and your spec, you go to the very maximum edge of it,
to
and then
reduce the
some.
friction the most or
Yeah.
increase the compression the most, just
You
find all
know,
those points.
final
We used to-
points. The balancing is very, very important in that too,
Yeah.
to keep everything balanced. And a lot of times they would do stuff like you could kind of polish and pour it a little bit, and then they would like bead blast it so it looked like it was still like back.
A lot of subtle cheats. Actually,
Yeah.
I used to race in the Thruxton Cup series, which is what my little plaques over there. We
Oh,
got some.
I just saw that on our website because I'm like, I got to look at
yeah.
all the Materne articles. And so wait, let me bring it up here. See if because I
Did you
have.
write it? Who wrote that article?
You wrote that article?
I
I
don't know.
saw it. I'm like, why is this one pulling up where you claim you got a 13th place?
That's so what's funny is that bike, and it's actually photographed in there because we were doing a whole series for the dealership of like trying to entice customers to start racing in this spec series with us. So I took a used bike that fit the specs, and I could just roll it right up the showroom floor, tape it up, and race it. And so that was the race for that. And what's funny is after that race, then I tore that motor down and blueprinted the motor and ended up making like 20 more horsepower. And in a spec series, that's a huge deal. Granted, I didn't remove any metal from the engine. I didn't do that at all. Everything was a Triumph specific part. Like it had a Triumph part
more
number.
horsepower. Actually.
Exactly.
Now,
So
so that's the other thing. You could go to if you have the access to the warehouse, say, go pull me, valves that I want everything to be matched, so you
Yep.
could, especially and if you had more, you could weight match like pistons and rings and rods and all that stuff right
Yep.
from the factory without having to cut anything,
Yeah, we were getting into cryogenically freezing stuff to align the molecules, like crazy levels of work in the blueprinting, which I'm sure if you were the editor of Engine Builder for that long, you know all the little fun tips and tricks in there.
I wrote every month, 2 full, long articles a month at one point before I was head tech editor of the whole company and for all their tech magazines. And it was kind of cool in the fact that, man, I didn't have to edit any. I just wrote. I was like just a
cool.
glorified freelancer at that point. So, but a lot of it got to be really monotonous. I was writing for Counterman, some really basic stuff, and it was not
What's
exciting.
Counterman?
Counterman, it's another magazine. Sorry, I use all this term, but there's a magazine for parts people called Counterman.
Wow.
And that was one. I don't remember our business was on the cover of one of the first issues.
Wait, like your dad's parts business?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
he used to write a column every month. Even when we were running the bit, he was writing a column every month for like Import Car, and then he did some stuff with Counterman, and he went to
Counterman.
What's that?
Is that still around? Is Counterman still a thing?
Yeah, really? A lot of these magazines, you'd be surprised. Like the Engine Builder magazine had been around since 1964. Counterman, I think, was one of the newer ones, and it was launched in the 80s.
So it is a magazine for people who work at parts counters.
Yeah, automotive, mostly automotive parts, but it's about like it's super exciting stuff. Again, there's a publication for anything you can think of out there. So,
wow, but I didn't even realize that.
Or like parts distribution channels, a lot of it was talking about the supply chain, which is similar to a lot of stuff we cover in Powersports business. We cover distribution, supply chain, and again, we give tips on counter, on parts counter people. Things that you can do at the parts counter, but a lot of it's just kind of aligning with, under what you're selling, because a lot of people that were in automotive parts, and I was guilty of this too. I became a counterman at like 18 years old. I didn't really know jack about cars that much.
Yeah.
People would call up like, hey, I got a 73 MG, and I need, I'm like, what are you talking about? I need some lever shocks. I'm like, lever shocks? What the? I'd go look it up in a book and be like, sure as shit, we got one in the back room. Holy crap. Here you go, buddy.
No idea what that is. Wow.
Yeah, we actually have
an MG. They're antique. It's like right out of the buggy era.
Yeah.
That's whenever I was 19, 20, when I came to work for Max as his counterman.
He was my counterman.
And learning Piaggio terminology. I thought I knew motorcycles, engines, whatever. Would you ever imagine that a clutch or a brake lever perch for a Vespa would be called a muff?
I call it
and looking up parts, if I'm looking for a cable, you'd think you'd go to controls maybe. Nope. Yeah. Transmission.
Wow.
Cables were called transmissions.
There's no connection to a transmission. So
all this worthless knowledge just floating up here.
Yeah.
I mean, my manager when I first became counterman at my dad's store, he was like a savant. I mean, he could memorize part number book. He was so freaking smart on you could have a computer right next to him and he could look it up faster in the catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or he knew it off the top of his head.
Yeah.
So,
do you still have part numbers stuck in your head that you?
I know I used to have. I still remember a few Bosch part numbers and some Volkswagen specific part numbers, like more or less the prefix and not the the ending.
Yeah.
But there's like 111 is like Type 1 Beetle. 113 I believe is bus.
Okay. So even more, like the older it gets, the more irrelevant that information becomes as well, because it's not a lot of people using those right now.
I've got a magnesium block in my back, just sitting out in my backyard. That was my dad's. That I rescued from his when we cleaned out. He passed away in 2018, and then my stepmom passed away a couple years 2024, and we had to clean out all their stuff, and there was like this junker Volkswagen motor sitting there, and I'm like, I know my dad's not going to he's not going to keep that just if it's a garbage block. I'm like, I'm looking it up, like, oh no, that's the magnesium block. I'm keeping that bitch.
Yeah. Nice. That's good. You could get right back into building.
Oh yeah, I'm what I'll do with it, I don't know, but it's
It's kind of like that Alfa Romeo that I've got in my backyard that has a motor torn out of it and sitting in parts, and I look at it all the time and I go, I'm going to build that thing real soon. And real soon it's been 8 years now, and I haven't done shit with it except take the motor out.
Don't even get me started on that.
Actually,
I've got a Morgan. I've got
here's the piston
there
of
you
that
go.
guy. Nice big hole. They're not supposed to have holes in the top of them.
What kind of Alpha?
What's that?
What Alpha is it?
That's a 1974 Giulia, the 4-door Giulia. It's a fun little car.
2-liter, right?
Yep.
That's basically the same motor as the Alpetta.
Yeah.
It's a great car. Motor. He was supposed to drive me and my wife from our church to the reception for our wedding. But the week before, he decided to go romp around New Orleans and blow a hole through your piston.
We had a race.
Leaned it out a little too much. It looked like.
Yeah, you know, we have a race in New Orleans. It's not necessarily legal, but we have a race in New Orleans called the Daiquiri Rally, like the Dakar Rally, where you haul ass in vintage cars from daiquiri shop to daiquiri shop and pick up gallons of booze, and then you race back and all drink them. It's a great time. I won. I beat a Ferrari Testarossa. It was a good race. But I blew up. I dropped a valve through the middle of my piston, and so, oops.
I did we did a rally called the Babe Rally years ago, like 2005, and it was from the Big Apple to the Big Easy, and it was right after Katrina. It was right after.
Super fun.
It was super fun, and it was put on. Like, we had guys from Top Gear were there. There were and you were supposed to buy a beater and drive it from New York, and we actually were in Staten Island, but from the Big Apple to the Big Easy, and you were supposed to break down. I think we were the only ones that really broke down. We had a Rambler. It was an AMC Rambler with 3 on the tree.
Yeah.
So it's like a cross between Gumball and 24 Hours of Lemons.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Somebody needs to bring that back. I would like, even
what are you doing this weekend?
Having bikes and what do we do? We need to do that. Definitely ending or starting in New Orleans.
Yes.
I think would be the
deal.
The
Why don't
ideal.
we'll have you here for the next podcast we do. For the Power Hour, we'll have you here, and then we'll just start our trip.
We should do that. I'm serious, man. I'm down with that. So,
I know a good publication that can cover the whole thing.
I think I know somebody that can get that thing covered. So
I was thinking Counterman would be the one.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so how long were you a counterman? How long did you do that job before editing took over?
Probably like 5 years, sort of. I started officially. It was a parents' bit, so I was sweeping floors from the time I, getting like $1 an hour at like 6 years old,
Of course.
And then, when you turn like 15, Dad's like, well, now I legally have to pay you $2.
Yeah, like that was slave labor before.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? Legally? I'm like, and then I kind of get up, so I think I became counterman like at 7, so maybe only a couple of years, and then we didn't sell it. We folded the business by the time I was 19.
Man, what do you do with shit? I think about dealerships that are closing down or even just trying to manage their inventory appropriately. There's so much you have to do with all that inventory. If you shut down an entire parts business that's been around for that long, what did you do with all those parts?
A lot of it we left there we owed money, so people, if they want, if we owed creditors or we owed like some of our parts suppliers, so they came and got whatever they could out of it. But there was a lot of stuff that we had that we were stuck with, like special order, and I still have some of it laying around. Like,
really?
I've got like steering wheels, like a wooden steering wheel from, like a Momo wooden steering wheel. I've got like a original Mini Cooper mag wheel that's like 12 inches tall and like super wide, from and just little stuff like that I kept just for mementos. But
and they were already paid for, so
we locked the door and said, all right, bank, come get it, so
man. I mean, well, that's probably a good transition. Let's get into your show. So actually not even just show, just Powersports Business and the Power Hour. You of all people, I think, have the most understanding of what this industry is doing. Really have a pulse on, like a finger on the pulse of what our industry is is feeling right now. And it's, I'll start off with the sad stuff first, and then maybe we can transition out of that. Hopefully we can, otherwise it'll be very depressing the rest of the show.
Yeah.
But man, there's been a lot of articles recently about stores closing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, to me, it felt like there was a surge right at the beginning of the year. And I'm only guessing that may have happened because people were holding out hope that the Christmas was going to bring a bunch of sales and all the cash flow. But then, beginning of the year, bills show up and it doesn't happen. But what's your take on what has happened? Are we at the bottom? Are you continuing to see it happen? What's going on?
I feel like there's going to be more, probably a little bit more, especially on the Harley side as that contracts a little bit.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got guys like Sonic just coming in, buying up 5 stores. And there's deals out there to be had, but there's also some that, and Harley knows that just need to be shut down. They had too many stores, I think.
Yeah.
They were just too much into they just got greedy. And at the time, at the height of things, maybe in the 2000s, early 2000s, whatever, I mean, they were just printing money. They could build those Taj Mahals. They could do all that. They could have a guy 5 miles away and still be competitive and still make money, but now you can't.
Yeah, there's Mike Cunningham, who's a good friend of mine, the guy who got me into this industry as well. But he and I were talking about the kind of turnover in an industry when the economy turned south. And in 2008, he was working for Triumph, dealer development for Triumph. And even then, he had mentioned, there were stores that we wanted to not be around. And that's no surprise. Harley-Davidson right now is thinking, every manufacturer is like, I wish we didn't sign up that dealer.
Yeah, I mean, Triumph, I guess you're the same story. I mean, they just flooded.
Yeah.
Anybody with a pulse.
That's how every OEM sets up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They're trying to get distribution.
In my town, there was a Triumph dealer. And I mean, you talk about a dump. I mean, it had dirt floors. Like, it was just horrible. So as soon as Mike was telling us this story, as soon as he was telling us this story, like, I was like, that's about the time that this dealership closed.
Yeah. Well, so what he was saying is like, look, you would think that when the economy takes a dump like that, yes, it's going to purge out some of the bad operators. Like, they're just going to go out of business. And that's sad. We don't want businesses to close. But as a brand, we wanted to be able to open up those markets again so we could find a better operator and elevate the brand in that particular area. But he said what actually happens is the best operators, the ones who take on all the product, they take on... Well, they bought all the
they bought all the extra
inventory. They're leveraged to the hills, and those are the ones that shut down. It's the ones that represent the brand the best that are usually the ones that end up folding first. And then what's left are the this might be an offensive. He was like, what's left are the cockroaches. It's the guys still with the dirt floors because they paid their building off 20 years ago. They haven't put another dime into it, and they just keep the thing going. So it's interesting. You're right. Some of these stores that are still closing, it's still happening. I do like that. You mentioned Sonic coming in and buying up. And for listeners who don't know what Sonic is, it is an automotive group. So there is
$15 billion in revenue last year.
16 billion, you said?
About 15 billion in revenue. 200 million in revenue just on the Powersports side alone.
Wow. How many Powersports stores does Sonic have now? Do you know?
And with this acquisition, that they're at 20 rooftops for Powersports. Wow. I'm sure they've got hundreds of automotive dealers, but they've gone. I think that they look at, we've done, and I'm sure there's still more to buy up, and they're a very large, if not the large, they're in the top 5 of automotive dealer groups, maybe even top 3. I think Lithia is still the largest dealer group, automotive dealer group out there. But yeah, Sonic is right up there, and they know how to do sales. They've got a certain process and a way that they do things, and it seems to work for them, and it's been working for them on the Powersports side, which is
it's impressive.
Exciting to hear that they've brought all those same processes that they've done on their automotive dealerships, from pre-owned and from the technology side to how they do customer experience and things like that. They've brought all that over to Powersports.
What you're looking at right now is Deal Builder by Onyx. Now, Deal Builder is the very first application that is available on the Onyx platform. And it's all about making it easier for customers to buy from dealerships. Now, when we started that turnaround project where we came into our old dealership and tried to modernize it and give customers better experiences to keep them coming back more, this was the very first tool that we built. And the reason is we noticed that our front-end profit was horrible. And by creating Deal Builder and using it for a couple months inside of this store, we immediately doubled the front-end margin of our products. So all of the motorcycles selling through this dealership were making twice as much gross profit as they were before, which made the store so much healthier. So here's what we've now built commercially available for you, so you can try it out as well. So if you look at this view, you can see not only is there a personalized video you can create for every individual quote you send to every individual customer, but you also can upload any photos of those vehicles so that the customer can see your exact vehicle on your showroom floor. Scroll directly below that and you can see a timeline, basically how much longer this particular quote and these numbers are going to last. And you can change that expiration date to be whatever you want to and create that countdown for it. Scroll slightly lower and you'll see any accessories. If you wanted to add accessories to a quote, you can do it very easily on the back end of this, and the customer can turn those accessories on and off, seeing the effect that it has on their down payment and their monthly payment. Keep scrolling and you'll find the trade-in information. That's where we can have any listed information for what they may be bringing in. That includes the approximate value, the approximate payoff they have for it, and ultimately the equity that would be bringing into this deal. Scroll slightly lower and you'll see the really engaging, exciting, and interesting part, and that is the finance options tool. I think of this like the old school Foursquare, but modernized. Nobody really likes using a Foursquare. So what was the psychology behind that? Why did it work? Well, it's because in a Foursquare, the top two numbers in the Foursquare are the dealership's numbers. You know, it's what I would give in trade. It's what the vehicle's price is. The bottom two numbers are the numbers the customer is in control of. It's their down payment and monthly payment. So it's their numbers, their money, not the dealership's money. So the Foursquare's concept was always to make sure the numbers that are being adjusted are customer money, not dealership money. And we took that same concept and applied it in a much more modern, much more transparent way that doesn't feel quite as used car salesy. So if you look down here in the finance or the payment details and down payment, you can scroll this from your 20% down all the way down to 0 or all the way up. This just allows the customer to pick what their terms should be. Below that, we can see their loan terms. So maybe they don't want to finance for 60 months. They'd rather go 84. And that will change the down payment and monthly payment, depending on what are those terms that are set up for them. Their credit rating, maybe they'll say, I have absolutely incredible credit. Well, I don't need to do a credit pull yet just to tell you approximately what that would be if you did, in fact, have great credit. So I scroll that all the way up to the very top, and now it'll show me exactly what that down payment and monthly payment is, all within the acceptable parameters. This means that now the customer can scroll down and not only see the specific details of their quote, but they can click right here and apply for financing, which is going to bring them right over to your website to fill in that credit application. This isn't an all-encompassing tool that connects with every other thing and does every single step of the job for you. We created one small, inexpensive plugin that just allows you to do one step of your process a lot faster and easier and smoother and in a modern, interactive way. Now, this is the first of many small interactive applications that will all begin working together in a cohesive ecosystem on that Onyx platform. So go sign up for the Onyx platform. It is absolutely free. And then sign up for this application, this Deal Builder application. This application is $30 a month for your entire store. So everyone can use the same application. Everyone can see all those quotes that are out. You can see how many times it's been viewed by the customer. You can see if they've sent it to a friend. You can see all the information they accepted when they clicked on apply for financing. So it really streamlines the process and makes it a lot easier and faster for you. And I am so certain that it's going to double the front end margin of your major unit sales that we're giving you the first 30 days absolutely free. So sign up. Try it. If you hate it, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't double your margin, just cancel. There's absolutely nothing you're going to lose. Just try it out. Tell us what you think. Give us any feedback. And we'll continue to make really cool tools for dealership operators, for dealership staff, by dealership operators and staff. So enjoy this tool. Go sign up at platform.onyx.io or simply visit onyx.io and it'll direct you right over to that area and we'll get you started. Thank you so much. Enjoy it.
been killing it.
That's really interesting. I mean, I've heard over and over again that a lot of times when automotive operators get into this space, they think it's easy pickings and they think it's going to be easy to operate, and it turns out being much more complicated. I mean, when you're talking about a store having multiple brands, that on its own changes things, and then you add in the kind of legacy software that we operate with, and the kind of, there's so many nuances to it.
I mean, we've seen it with the Faro Group. That one just sold. It was owned by an automotive group, pretty sizable automotive group, who just like, we can't do it. They didn't have enough power sports. They didn't diversify enough into power sports. They just kind of dabbled into it.
Yeah.
So, and then they're basically turned their Taj Mahal that they built in the early 2000s outside of Columbus, Ohio. That's being turned into like a Subaru dealership or something.
Wow.
And
really?
The company that bought the Faro business is just keeping their small store that's more downtown, or it's like on the east side of Columbus. But
interesting.
And it's like one of those things, again, going back to like the dirt floor, like much more lower overhead. They don't have to work, that Taj Mahal, to pay the rent on that thing and all so you've got to use, I think we're in the age, and again, it's like high rent places. Those are not doing as well, you know, but some of them can make it work. It just, it's a hard sell right now, especially because, we're definitely more recreation. We're more of a want than a need.
Of course.
But,
So as the economy struggles and all these other uncertainties are happening, people aren't buying toys as much, this isn't new news to anybody in this space.
Right.
But I could definitely see how an auto group could say, this isn't the industry to play in right now. So
which is surprising to me that why then Sonic is like, and I just did a podcast with them, which will be coming out soon. Probably yours will probably come out before theirs, but because
I get look out for the Sonic podcast.
But
Power Hour.
They get, they feel bullish on the power sports side and on Harley and all the changes there, and they know that they can move metal. They feel confident that they can move metal with their process. So hey, and I think that they're right. They'll know how to run that, and they've shown that they can do a good job. Selling 1,100 motorcycles at Sturgis last year. I mean, they said they could probably do more. They said if we had more, if we had a little more time to organize and get things prepared, they probably could have moved more.
We just had Jason White on the podcast as our last episode. And, for listeners, he owns Faye Myers Motorcycles in Denver, but he also owns One Dealer Lane. And he was actually talking about how Sonic's sales at Sturgis were powered by One Dealer Lane. And so that tool, have you seen One Dealer Lane yet?
No, I haven't.
Basically, think of it as it's like the middleware layer. It's the software layer that the sales team works in, and that system connects to the lenders and the CRM and the DMS, and it allows the staff to just work in one tool.
They work on an iPad. Basically.
Exactly, and they can work on the iPad. They can speed up the process. I mean, it's a really impressive tool, and they're a newer company. I think they have 30 or so rooftops so far, but one of their now like crowning jewel is that they powered the 1,100 major unit sales at Sturgis through this group, through Sonic.
I mean, that was impressive, and I mean, how many? There's a lot of Harley dealers that don't even sell 200 motorcycles a year.
I know. Yeah. God, imagine that a weekend, 1,100.
But when you've got like 800, 500,000 people at your doorstep, and Jeff Dyke, for the president of Sonic, was like, you're not even getting 5%. He's like, that we're not scratching the surface there.
Although, you know what, I have to argue a little bit. It's kind of like going to an airport to buy your luggage. You're going to Sturgis to buy your motorcycle. It's kind of like, wait, what?
If they make it easy and the price is right, like if you price it right, you're not trying to gouge necessarily. And you make the process easy enough. I could see it work. You got guys here with their trailers already. They're all
agree.
Most of them are trailered.
Yeah, they're ODL. When we were talking to him last week, he was talking about 20 minutes, like a major unit sale happening in 20 minutes. Yeah, you think about any store, the store downstairs, the dealer lab downstairs that we work in. That's still an hour.
Yeah.
It's still an hour. If they've got everything lined
exactly.
up
If
perfectly.
everything's lined up.
Yeah.
If it's not perfect, it's a half a day you're hanging out in the dealership waiting to buy that motorcycle. If you can make a sale happen in 20 minutes, that is a game changer. And you're right.
From
1100
getting
doesn't seem that
your
crazy.
qualified, your bank, your loan, your financing all in place, everything to be like, all right, boom, bang, bing,
Yep.
we got your trade in, and we're doing your trade in here. We're doing that, and then we're gonna probably sell your trade in tomorrow, or whatever.
Yeah. So with that being said, that it does seem like the Sonics of the world, the automotive groups that are coming in and actually have the capabilities of doing this are going to help shift the industry in a different direction. And one of these directions does seem to be an easier purchasing process. What do you think the rest of the dealership looks like? Because I love the sales department. It's great, but really, Danny and I we're countermen, and we're service guys.
People countermen, yeah, exactly.
And what does the back look like?
And that's the thing, though. Again, that Sturgis thing, that's like more of a seasonal, special. All hands on deck. They've got that's not going to happen all the time.
Yeah,
but I think that what they're talking about is that customer experience. I think that the back end of it, I don't know enough about their service departments to know, but if you've got to think and I think that they are more designed to move units than to necessarily be the forefront of the service department of parts and accessories. I think that's something, I think PG&A is something they're going to have to learn. Which is a lot different than on the automotive side. There's no PG&A on the, not really,
Yeah, and service is a totally different beast in Powersports. It's not people coming in getting tires changed that I can get from AutoZone or brake pads changed that I can get from AutoZone delivered and Napa delivered right away. Like that stuff doesn't happen in our industry. It is a totally different beast to manage. So you're right. It does seem to me, and maybe because I'm biased, it seems to me like solving the problem of major unit sales so that we can increase the volume, hold more margin, do it with fewer people, all that stuff. That's a solvable problem.
Yeah.
And that is something that we have multiple people working on, right? Whether it be One Dealer Lane, whether it be Echo, there's other people in this space that are all trying to solve the purchase problem. But the ownership problem, which
is more what
experience,
you about, which is
exactly
your whole shtick. That's
there's a little self-serving here, that comment. Yeah, but yeah, it is the hardest. It's the hardest thing to try and figure out because there's more employees in the back. There's more moving parts in the back. There's more integrations that need to be done. There's more expertise that needs to exist back there in individuals, and so that is really hard. So this becomes a conversation we ask everybody, or a question we ask everyone, which is, what do you think the customer's service and ownership experience is going to feel like 5 years from now? If they can I can buy in 20 minutes on my phone or 5 minutes on my phone, like I can with Carvana right now. Once I own it, where the hell do I go?
Right. And that is a good question. I think that, and so with their newest acquisition there, which is, all over the country with 5 of them, and I can't speak exactly for them, but those are established stores already that they're keeping the name. They're not changing, they've already got stuff, they're like, well, we don't want to change the name because that they've already spent money in building that brand up. So they're, keeping a lot of the same people. I think it's just more of the philosophy changes behind the scenes that maybe change that a little bit. But, for me, when I go to a dealership, and my limited buying from dealerships, because I don't I haven't bought anything really new, so I'm more on the service side.
Of course,
I deal with the service, and I love when I've got somebody great to deal with on the service side. That's what gets me then to think more about like, well, maybe I will buy from these guys. Maybe I will trade in, and so I think having your service side being aware, like, and what you've pointed out in a lot of your tools and things, is just like knowing the cycles, that cycle, like, hey, what is he how long has he had this for? Is he looking for a trade-in? Where is he on, if he bought it from us, do we know, where's that break-even point where we can get him into something else?
And historically, it feels like the only way to make that happen historically is to have had a phenomenal service advisor who just gets it, who cares, who gets it, who understands where the customer's position is and all that. Like we had a service advisor here named Rob Evans. I love the guy to death. He is still one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Same.
He is a nuclear engineer.
Something like that.
Something like that. He's like, and by something like that, I mean, like, I think that's technically the title. Like that is what he does.
Oh yeah.
Dude is a genius. Motorhead, builds his own car, fixes all his own stuff. He is awesome. He was the most incredible service advisor because he understood all those pieces, but there was never a chance in hell he was going to spend his entire career doing that. So the moment that we lost him to his actual career being a nuclear engineer, we lost that capability to provide that incredible experience. And so to me, it feels like if I'm going to have a relationship with a service department, it's really a relationship with, in my case, Rob Evans. It's my guy. My guy knows me. He knows what I like. He knows how to communicate with me. He's efficient. How do you make that when dealerships can afford to pay $22 an hour and the job is so hard and it's demanding and the turnover's high? That's I feel like the biggest. It feels like an overlooked
especially
problem.
hard on the Powersports side because, like you said, those guys, on the automotive side, those guys, service managers can make a lot of money.
Yeah, service advisors can make six figures.
Yeah, and for good reason because they're like, there's some trust with they're helping you come to that decision of whether you fix it or trade it in or what. For me, like even on the automotive side, like we've got an old BMW that I sometimes take to the dealer because I don't want to diagnose thing. I'm like, we'll just take it down there, and then usually they talk me into fixing it. I'm like,
that's good.
Go ahead and fix it. I guess I'll take this one off.
Yeah,
but it's because they have good service people, service writers, and I have to trust them, and just same thing when my local Ducati dealer, they're not in business anymore. I love those guys, but I trusted them wholeheartedly. Like, I knew they wouldn't do me wrong. You know what I mean? So, and that they would take care of what needed to be taken care of. They weren't going to they're not just trying to get an extra nickel out of me. They wanted to do what I wanted, as far as like what I felt needed to be done and what I agree, again, it's like sometimes there's maintenance things like, oh, well, I'll do that or I'll do this. And then, but they'll work, with people like me, I'm probably a pain in the ass to most of the
I'm the same way. It's interesting though. I mean, everything you're saying, everything you're talking about why these guys became your guys is a people thing. It's a people and a trust thing. Like you connected with the humans that were there and you made it like they are what made it special. And that's a great point. We cannot replace it with AI. Like that's not going to be, that's not solving our problem.
These guys are partners, I'm telling you, they're like a little bit of, they're like a bartender. They, you cry on their shoulder a little bit because you're like, this is my baby, or whatever.
So it seems like if we're going to continue this as dealers, the most important thing isn't to how do you replace those people because you can't replace them. How do you keep them instead? Like how do we keep? How do we make sure that they stay around so that we have that person that the customer already trusts that know what's going? If I could keep Rob Evans, this would be a great mental exercise here. That guy, I mean, he's making a shit ton of money now. But I know that he's not enjoying it. But I had breakfast. He's making money, but he's not enjoying it. We've talked about that. I had breakfast with him not that long ago. He's like, it's not fun. I mean, it was fun working at the dealership and like working on stuff, but that doesn't support a family. And he's got a family now. Like that's how. So I see this as one of the only ways we're going to really be able to keep that around or attract people back into this industry or into this industry even for the first time is that we need to do two things. We need to make sure that they can get paid well enough to justify living in this space. And we need to make the job not suck. And making the job not suck is a lot harder than you think it is. It isn't just giving pats on the back and making people feel good. It's that the job has become so complicated to do, to be a counterman, you would imagine became easier, but you still have to have the same product knowledge and same understanding of all the moving pieces and the care. Same thing for the service advisors.
Becoming so much more complicated, and they're only going to get worse. And I've seen it from the automotive side when they had, with ADAS and all that stuff, and I mean, I never, I've got multiple scanners for my cars, and I just dink on them in my backyard. But I'm like,
Yeah.
these guys, you have to have so much general knowledge, but more so than that, it's like these guys become such a specialist in a brand,
Yeah.
just like a good Porsche mechanic or whatever, a good BMW bike mechanic, which that's a whole nother ball of wax. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Agreed.
Those are weird
Agreed.
bikes,
We just did a delve analysis. The delve analysis are like really, really in-depth study of a store. We interview staff, we do financial analysis, we do inventory analysis, this big LiDAR scans, seasonality. It's like everything you could possibly study about a store we do. And in that store, they are in uncomfortable free fall right now. And they're in a free fall. So much of that has to do with the fact that, if you stop selling vehicles and you need to get out of that problem, there's a way out of it. You can sell your way out of that problem. You can hire a salesperson to get in that role. You can you can fix your parts problems. It's going to hurt a little bit, but you can get out of it, right? The biggest issue that created their free fall is that they have had a mass exodus from their service department. Their technicians are leaving. Their certified master technicians are leaving. And now,
like culture related, is it,
a huge part of it is
culture
and pay.
And pay. I mean, their lead Ducati master tech hated it, and he could go. What did he? I mean, he went and got a job at a tire and wheel shop, making more.
Yeah.
Well, that's the sad part, I think, is when it comes down to it, is like you can be this big shot master tech and on the Powersports side, on the bike side, and then be like, but your pay is really a fraction of what these guys make on like the automotive side in the mainstream world of transportation,
Yeah.
I mean, I was a racing mechanic, but also worked on heavy duty trucks, and you can make a lot of money on heavy duty trucks.
Exactly.
Well, but
exactly.
The real sad thing is that it so much comes down to management, because like their pay plans were just out of whack. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't incentivizing the technicians to work like a technician should work at an automotive dealer. I mean, there are technicians in the power sports industry that are making good money because of the right management and because they have the right pay plans.
Yeah, but I think it's also being willing to change that. Like there are all these, preconceived notions of old notions of a technician shouldn't be making more than $30 an hour. That's expensive. And you're like, dude, that is dated information.
What shop rates are now. So when you look at shop rates and
it's like they should be making 25% of the posted rate. How about that? Let's make that happen. But still, like, maybe there's a way to rethink all of this. And I think that's the fun thing that we're having a really good time experimenting with and trying and doing in the lab. The idea that you can say, like, okay, let's think about like the dollars and cents of a service department, right? Of every dollar that you get in service labor, historically, we've said we want a 75% gross profit margin, right? So 25 cents of every dollar should be going to your technicians, and then you have 75 cents to pay your service managers and your service advisors and your shop expenses and all those other things, and you're going to be left with about 45 cents of every dollar as like a good, healthy store. And that formula has been what we've used for 30 years now. And what's interesting is when you start adding in, like, well, what has actually started to change? What can we change now? Then maybe we can start, like, moving these numbers around a little bit more. We can still have a profitable end. We can still have a contribution, 45 cents left at the end of the day. But maybe we can afford to pay the technician a little more effectively, and we can save some of our expenses in the administrative expenses that we've been carrying all this time because things like AI come out. Yeah. Like there are ways to streamline this stuff and make it faster and cheaper. And so I think that's the way that we look at the evolution of the departments. It's also the way that we look at AI. Like some people are scared that AI is going to take jobs. And I think especially in our space, that will happen. AI will take jobs in certain spaces. In our industry, I am not worried about that at all.
There's a lot of jobs that just haven't been filled yet. And, I think we've always been it's been a long period of underemployment in the power.
100%.
So AI is absolutely 100% going to help a power sports dealer, whereas an automotive dealer, it may take some jobs away. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Yeah. You know, I think of it this way. When we sold our dealership in 2019, we had 16 employees running the store. Right? That's how it took 16 people to run it. Now, 2026, this store, again, I'm not owning it now. This store has 8 employees selling the same amount of units. But you know what suffers is the customer's experience. And granted, I'm not blaming these guys. They have to pay more for their
the same amount.
You've only got so much.
The service is not. And so the customers are suffering, which ultimately means that the margin, the profitability is suffering. So it's kind of this like chicken or the egg situation. Like, yeah, you drop the staff, but your margins come down because the experience is terrible. So what AI is doing is not just being the chat bot. It's not just being the, tell me what my financials looked like in the rear view so I can forecast a trend. Those are useful ways to use AI. But I also think that if I can take the 8 employees down there right now and take the administrative bullshit off of their desk and use the AI to execute that, then suddenly my team of 8 is as valuable as a team of 16 because they're doing more face-to-face customer things. They're building trust. And maybe I can still have 8 employees, but I can pay like I have 16. And maybe that'll get my Rob Evans back to be the incredible service advisor that was here.
I mean, I feel like that's probably the best solution there is out there because, it's going to have to be, we have to raise pay of, and I know certain markets are different. Everything's different in different markets, but you have to be able to bring up people to where they can make where they can't just go down to the tire store down the street after they're a certified master technician. It's such a waste of talent.
Yep, of course. Yeah. After having studied dozens of stores all around the country with that super intensive Delve study, we've been in major metropolitan areas. We've been in tiny, tiny towns. The consistent complaint I'm heard from every single employee in the service department, especially, is pay. So you're right. I mean, demographically and what town you're in does dictate how much you're getting paid, but nobody says they're getting paid enough. And maybe that's just everybody's going to say, I want to make more money. But looking at their pay plans, I don't disagree.
It's warranted.
Yeah. It's like, you can live here on that? How much is rent here? Holy shit.
No, and whenever you ask, like, you can live here, they all say, no. I commute an hour and a half one way.
McDonald's across the street in this tiny New Mexico town pays more money than my service advisor makes right now. And that guy gets yelled at every day. The guy over here just clicks 3 different buttons over and over again. Right.
So now that McDonald's, that'll be AI before you know it, but
Oh yeah. If we're talking about losing jobs, that's going away.
That'll be one that'll be, you've already seen that. But I don't see, unless they have AI robots, doing, which may be down the road, who knows? But I think in the end, AI will help lift the boats of the humans involved being more to help trust and facilitate, and, using their expertise, expertise in mechanics and technical work like that versus doing a lot of the administrative and a lot of the stuff filling out TPS reports, which
PC load letter.
PC load. It's like, I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob. I'm missing a lot of work lately. I wouldn't say I've been
when we go and do those Delve studies at dealers, that's how we open up our introduction.
Yeah, you're the Bobs.
We're the Bobs. What would you say you do here?
Well, on any given day, I maybe work 15 minutes.
I'm a people person.
It's a problem of motivation, Bob.
Yeah, it's so true. Having worked in and I never wanted to be an office person at all, which, it's so weird that
Here you are,
spent all this time. But, it's that, but that movie just resonates with me. But at the same time, a lot of it is true. You're spending so much time and filling out things that are just like mind-numbingly boring and that don't.
How is that bringing any value to a customer?
No. Warranty administration,
right?
Ugh.
Yeah.
So I just
if that gets off the plate,
yes.
What does our experience look like now? What does the dealership look like now? That changes everything,
right? I mean, it should have more guys like the superstar service managers that can really talk you through what you need. Now, there's a lot of hand holding in this stuff, and I don't see AI being able to do that.
No, the bedside manner of being a really good service advisor is a person skill. It is.
Yeah. Now maybe AI will help with some of the follow up and the repeat, like, oh, I got to call this person. Oh, it's already scheduling my call, and I can. Okay, I don't have to sit there and do all that.
That's kind of the administrative bullshit. That's the keeping a good task log like that. Yeah, AI could do that for you, and it already does. To be honest, there are systems already doing that. Like you recently interviewed DP360, right? Did you talk to them recently?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I did I don't know if I did a podcast. You know what I've done, and not that I've even done that many, but some of them blur together, But I think I know 360. I think they were a sponsor for our Accelerate conference.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah. I recently met with them about their AI system and what it's doing, and it's great. It's a great chatbot. It does mine through previous leads, like it does those things. Those are just simple tasks that you do that, and suddenly your sales guy has more time to spend on the phone, or isn't distracted by the phone call or the email that's coming in. They're spending more time connecting with that customer face to face. So I think you're right. It is the take the load off of the existing employee model. And I forget what I was listening to. I was listening to something recently talking about AI taking jobs and what industries are going to not necessarily suffer, but which ones are going to actually thrive in this. Oh. And the concept behind it was to say, look, AI is going to dramatically drop commodity goods and services. Like that's really what the big impact is going to be. And so what that means is theoretically there is more time for people to not work on administrative tasks.
Have leisure time out the yin yang, which I think would be helpful for Powersports.
Exactly. Leisure time and expendable income. That is what our industry thrives on. So maybe
Elon
this
Musk is just called for universal
basic universal basic income
salary. Yep. Like a universal salary, like high, enough income to live, because he thinks that AI will be able to cover, so that we'll just make money by doing nothing. I don't know about that, but
that's definitely a cover your ass thing that anybody with AI is going to say. Like, why don't we just pay people to shut up?
AI, you can get a universal. I mean,
and then right out of the other side of his mouth, he says, "Well, AI can kill us all," and you're like, oh, "Why are you making this so scary?"
What was that Pixar movie? Wall-E. I think that's the whole premise of Wall-E.
It is. It is. Universal basic income. We're all be floating around being fed hot dogs.
Yeah. On a starship.
But you know what? If it gives us more time to enjoy our hobbies like Powersports and I'm
maybe,
all for it.
Maybe what it is, this feels like starting to feel like another COVID wave, right? And by that I mean it's a little different, right? All waves. There's going to be
have a little.
There's going to be some other wave that follows. And so when COVID happened, obviously we all freaked the hell out. We all thought this is the end of our industry.
Sudden though. It
was very sudden. It was very sudden. So it created this really big response, and dealerships freaked out and they didn't know what was going to happen. And we, as an industry, dealerships were already suffering. Net operating profit across the entire industry was low at that point. And so this saved us. And then we all rode this incredible wave, and now it's come back down again. And it does kind of feel like the wave, yes, it's going to clear out some of the stragglers, maybe some of the cockroaches are going to survive, but we're going to come back up on the other side, and maybe AI is this other wave for us. So it's an opportunity for us to get back to better experiences. It's an opportunity to serve those the what I hate to say is like people who buy expensive side-by-sides, who buy boats, who are talking marine, like all those people. I mean, that's the 1%, if we're being honest. Those guys are going to do better because of AI. And you know what? That means they're going to buy more stuff from us. But they are expecting an experience that's better than the experience we give right now. So maybe AI allows us to give the experience right as that cash flow is starting to come back in, and suddenly we're riding a whole new wave.
I'm hoping also that 1% becomes more like 2 or 3%, maybe. You know what I mean?
Oh,
where people are, and I've read this recently, that actually the upper middle class has increased over the last decade or so, that it's like a bigger portion now than it's ever been. So I look at that as like those people have expendable income. they have
those
the money,
people are getting into
those
hobbies.
people, whoever those people are, they've got money. So
Yeah.
they can buy, I mean, they're not the 1%, but they're up there.
And the more free time they have, hopefully if they still have the job and the free time that they have while they are employed, that's got to be spent somewhere. It's got to be spent bringing their kids to school in a Razor or riding motorcycles around,
Spend it outdoor, whether it's, and again, I go back to like the outdoor industry being a $1.3 trillion industry at this point, when you combine all the factors of like camping and hiking and it's massive, so it can't be ignored, and power sports and motorcycling is a big part of that. We're like third or fourth somewhere in there as far as, I think boating's bigger and maybe hiking, but we're right up in that.
We're somewhere near just walking places. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Like, walking places is a little bit higher than riding and floating on some water somewhere,
Okay. Oh my gosh, man, this has been really fun. I think of all the things that I wanted to talk to you about, I think we hit them all. This has been a really fun one.
I always enjoy talking to you guys, and it's like, I know our last podcast, we'll get that up, and I'm glad that we can connect, because I keep going, we got to connect and do a podcast, because we always have a good time talking. And always cover some great subjects, and
let's do it again. Let's do some Power Hour again too. Let's make that happen.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, and listeners, if you're not already a subscriber to Powersports Business, then what the hell are you doing? But also, please sign up, be a part of it. There's awesome articles. I write one every month as well, so that's always nice.
Yeah,
that's
you're
fun.
a big part of it. Yeah. We, again, your articles and your, what you're doing is really on point with what our mission is at Powersports Business, and educating dealers and people to understand that ownership cycle, is what we're talking about, and just new ways of doing things, not the same old way.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate you letting me be a contributor on that. It's really fun to do it. It's shit. When we were sharing the turnaround project, I mean,
that was a big one, man. That was a big one. Was really, really good, and we got a lot of comments. I know you got a lot of comments about it. So.
It's funny. I can't go anywhere without somebody bringing it up. Every event or go to an OEM, and everybody brings it up. Like, man, I was following the story. So it's cool. It's cool to know that people are paying attention, and they're and not just to what we're doing, but they're paying attention to there is a change coming, and nobody knows exactly what it's going to look like or how they're going to do it. But everybody's got their eyes open.
Like with AI, we don't know what's going to happen. We're just like trying to follow along and see where, but it's happening.
Yeah.
We know it's happening.
We know it's happening. We know it's happening quickly. Yeah. And man, it's fun having a podcast, as with Power Hour.
Yeah.
You do get to talk to people who are doing really creative stuff, and you can get a feel for like, okay, where is it probably going? And I've definitely started to see more of a vision for, I think this is what we're going to have as an industry in the next 5 or 10 years. And when you can start seeing that vision, then it's so much easier to start building in that particular direction.
And, and I kudos to you and Danny there for doing all this. And, I love the dealer lab idea and the podcast. And this is really like the best way to get long form journalism out there, in my opinion, because you get it on regular TV. You can't really even get it in print anymore, in magazines anymore, because people don't have, if you really want that, you have to really sit down and want to pay attention for that length of time, and it's hard to get people. So so kudos. I'm glad you
kudos to you as well. You're doing the same thing, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, Powersports Business is like the first thing I check every morning, and has been for like the past 15 years of my life.
Exactly.
Well, I'll make sure I get stuff posted early enough. What time do you wake up? So I make sure.
Oh man, Brendan, that was awesome, man. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll catch up again soon.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we're back.
And we're back. Yeah.